Welcome to the 1 Million Years of Joy podcast. I'm Dr. Andrea Benaker, your host, and my intention is to inspire you to find more joy in your life through the stories from our guests and the science on joy and purpose. I'm delighted to introduce to you Lara Yumi Tsuji Bezerra. She is the first Chief Purpose Officer featured in Forbes. And after 27 years of working in the pharmaceutical industry for companies like Bayer and Roche, she is now a life and career mentor, a C-level coach, and an organizational cultural consultant and speaker. She is a native of Brazil, but she has lived in Portugal, Germany, Hungary, Mexico, Venezuela, and India, and she currently lives in the US. Lara, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure and my honor, Andrea.
So Lara, tell us more about your wonderful background and your origins, please.
I am a Brazilian, half Japanese because my mother is Japanese. So it tells a lot about my history because of all the Eastern influence and impact in my life. Today, when I look back that I am working now with purpose, when I am working with finding a coherence in life, in my job right now, my work, I look back and I understand that my mother's influence and Japanese influence, it was very big in my life. Well, but I started in the pharmaceutical industry after doing business administration. I wanted to do medicine, but then I just gave up the last minute and decided to do business administration. My father and my mother both are medical doctors, but then I entered in pharmaceutical industry. So you don't go so far away, yeah? So I started with Bayer in Brazil, and after 3 years that I was there, I was transferred as an expat to Portugal. And what is very interesting is that my whole life, when I was working, work was always part of my life. It was not something that it was an obligation or something that it was separated. I never saw work-life balance. For me, it was a balance of life. And I was learning it with time. So I went to Portugal first, and then I went to Hungary as general manager of Bayer Pharma, and then I went to Mexico, to Venezuela, and then in Venezuela I was president of Bayer there, and then I was hired to be president of Roche, and then after I went to India. But mainly my history, I think that it was so much based on wanting to help people and wanting to do something more. And when I was in Hungary, I was 32 years old and I was general manager of pharma. And everything there was different. So the language different, everything different. So for me to lead, Andrea, I had to trust people. I was very young. So there were people in my leadership team that they were much older than I was. They knew better the country. They knew better the market. They knew better everything. So I had to trust them. And as I was growing older and wiser, I understood that I had to lead through people and changing cultures. I started to understand that leading people was easier when they were happy, when they wake up in the morning and liked to come to work because they did something beyond their obligation. And with time, I started to work trying to bring purpose, and I started to love human beings. And parallel to this, my private life was transforming also. I went through a divorce in Hungary, but then I met the love of my life in Mexico. That was an old boyfriend. And then after some years, we got our full family when we were in Venezuela. We were introduced to an institution, and then we met our 3 children. They are siblings, and we adopted them there. If I will kind of summarize my life, it was absolutely nothing that I planned or that I wanted, that I dreamed for, but it was absolutely everything that I needed for me to be happy and to live my purpose. And each time a challenge made me stronger, wiser, which came back to a talk with my grandfather when I was 13 years old, more or less, that I was obsessed by happiness. I wanted to be happy. And he told me, Lara, for you to be happy, I think that you have to be wise. And the younger you get wise, the longer you will be happy. I think the summary of my life is that I always got what I needed in the moment. And when I knew how to take the best out of it without doubting or making decisions by fear, everything went to the right direction. And it just made me be here today with an experience in trying to bring purpose, happiness to my team so I could lead them, and the same in my family. And today I am writing a book about it, how to live a coherent life guided by your purpose. And I am living this with my children. I am here in US now, and I am having some consultant jobs that I try to bring harmony, love, and purpose to boards, to leadership teams. And I am having some mentoring, coaching to CEOs, to executives for the same. And for me, is my dream life. So I am very happy today.
Wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing your beautiful journey. And because purpose has been such an integral part of your journey for so many years, and it is today, and really look forward to reading your book on leading a coherent life. Tell us how you went about finding your purpose.
I think that since I was very young, I always thought that my purpose was to be happy. And then after a while, it was like, okay, I want to be happy, but how I am happy the whole time? So it's not about being happy the whole time. And then after, I started to think I want to live in peace. And when I started leadership positions, I understood that all of this depended on people around me. If I help people to be happy around me and in peace, it will be much easier for me to be in peace. So for a while, my purpose was to bring happiness to the people. And even when I was in Venezuela, I was so obsessed about happiness that I studied the GNH, the Gross National Happiness, the 35 Index from Bhutan, and I tried to implement in Bayer, Venezuela. And even my interview with the Roche CEO, I told that this is what I was trying to bring. And then suddenly I started to understand that happiness is within that you find. And purpose, doing something for a meaning. So when you understand why you were here in this life and what is your mission, it changes a lot. So if you understand your deeper purpose, so what is that from what you think that you will feel very well when you are going away from this life, that you look and said, okay, I am a better human being than I arrived. What makes you think this? And when you start to find this and you align your work, what you're doing in life, and you are kind of coherent in all parts of your life with this, is much better. Then suddenly my purpose started to be to help people to find meaning in their lives. Today, my purpose is to elevate humanity's consciousness. I understand if the consciousness of humanity will be elevated, people will live in peace, and happiness will be more constant. The high and lows will not be so big, the difference, and they can live a much more nicer and joyful life. So for me, my purpose today is to help humanity to elevate consciousness by understanding that they have a complete control. It's not about control, but it's about I can live an intentional life. If I want to be happy, it's my decision and I can do it. It depends on your thoughts and how you live with it. So purpose was a journey for me. It was a journey, and I don't think that somebody is born with a purpose and keeps the same purpose, because the systems that are entering your life are changing, and people that are around you are changing, and their needs are changing, and how to make them feel fulfilled and happy is part of your journey for you to be fulfilled and happy. So it will be changing. So this was my purpose journey, and I don't think that I will die with the same purpose that I have right now. But by the end, it's kind of, I need to feel that I am living this life a better human being than I arrived.
This is so inspiring. And I absolutely love what you just shared, that indeed, given certain life realities, that even deeper inner reflections, our purpose can evolve. It does not stagnate. No matter where you may be, very early in your life or even in the middle of your life, it's a journey. And this is actually the beauty of life, to continue this exploration and live with a sense of curiosity and mystery connected to why am I here, right? So that's fundamental question that we've been asking for millions of years.
I make a comment because you told this just came to my mind yesterday in my meditation. I do this insight timer meditation. It was a phrase that it was very nice. It was telling, life is not about solving problems. Life is about experiencing the reality of it.
Oh, how deep and profound. So, as you were talking, one question that kept popping in my mind is, do you see a difference between happiness and joy?
Yeah, I know. No, before we were going to talk, I was thinking so much, what is the difference of both of them? Because as being a Portuguese native speaker and English is my second language, what is the difference? And I think, yes, there is a difference. And I think that I started to understand when I read this book from Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. I think there are moments that you cannot be happy. I don't know, I might be wrong, but there are some times that you can have joy, even in a very difficult moment. I would not be able to be happy the moment that my mother passed away. That it was the most challenging moment of my life. I could not be happy. It was sadness, but a joy of having lived a life with her and having the opportunity to then live everything that she taught me. It was a joy. It was a kind of gratitude feeling that made me being joyful. And I think that I had this challenge talking so much about happiness and bringing happiness because some people told, but Lara, there are days that we cannot be happy. Are you going to be disappointed with us, or are you going to be angry if we are not happy the whole time in the office? That's why I started to change the way that I was talking about happiness, because happiness are little moments that are building up to your memory. But to have joy inside is something that I think that comes with fulfillment, maturity, and your ability of choosing the thoughts that you will make decisions with, instead of letting you making decisions with the emotions that a certain situation brings to you. When you live a very difficult situation and you have emotions that are not good for you, but you decide which are the emotions that you want to live your life and make decision, you can have joy in this moment, even if you're not happy. So I don't know if I was too philosophical, but it was the thoughts that came to my mind. I am curious to know how you see it, because I would love to learn from you, an expert in joy.
This is a journey, I have to say. And after my brain operation, as you know, I've created this model, which is called the Trilogy of Joy. And as you have mentioned before, when I got the diagnostic and as I was preparing for the operation, I could not be happy, as you had described in your own case with the passing of your mother. But I chose to feel joy in having these precious moments with my kids, with my husband, with my family. And the joy almost accentuated this pleasure of being alive. And although it was one of the most challenging situations, I would say that at the same time, it was one of the most joyful ones as well. And there were three key elements that I actually mentioned in my TEDx talk that comprise this trilogy of joy. And it was all about love, it was about gratitude, and it was about courage. And for each one of these three dimensions, there's a component that really relates to you, to others, and to life. So when we talk about love, it's about how can I love myself in this moment, despite what has happened or the reality I'm going through? How can we love others more and show our love so abundantly so they could find more joy? And how can we love life and its mystery? And we apply the same principles to gratitude, courage as well. And As I said, there's more on this in the TEDx talk, and that's really what I've come to realize right now. But as you know, we're doing a global project, and this is my experience and my own conclusion as a result of everything I've studied and meditated on over so many years. And what our aspiration is with the 1 Million Years of Joy Global Project is actually to collect these insights from all over the world, from people of different professions, different ages, different cultures, and to see how everyone looks at joy and happiness in a different light, and what can we uncover from this process so we can actually share the wisdom that emerges from this research, so we can actually bring more joy to this world. Because as you said, it is very much about the inner world. And often we rely on the outer world to define our happiness. But joy is so much more powerful. And it's not something that we can seek, but it is something that we can easily tap in at any moment in life, no matter how challenging a situation may be.
You know, Raya, you were talking about it, and it's so beautiful because I see a movement right now of so many people that they feel something very profoundly that make them love life with all its mysteries, and they want to share. And somehow we want people to live life much better than they are living today, because we are seeing so much burnout, so much depression, and people deserve to live much better. And at the same time, I was talking to another person another day, and it reminded me of the Tao definition. In the beginning, it's like sometimes there are moments that we try, as much as we try to describe something that we feel, we will describe the manifestations of it, unless the people will feel it themselves and feel that impossible moment that even if you try your best to describe, you will not be able to describe. And this is the ultimate feeling of joy, love, purpose. And I love when you make this definition and you make this project of many people sharing what joy is for them, because people are so different from each other. But if they are able to listen about purpose, love, joy, gratitude, and they connect and tell, oh, that moment was a moment that probably I felt it. And then they come back and they kind of create a habit of searching for it. This is what will make people feel really intensely joy or whatever. And we have to spread, because life is so much better than so many people is living right now. And everybody deserves to live a life fulfilled, right? And the world would be a much better place.
So, Lara, as we're talking about happiness and joy and purpose, which are really key elements of leading a life that is just so much more fulfilling and that has a deeper meaning, I want to go back to the early days when you were an executive, a woman that was very young in comparison to some of your counterparts. Tell us about whether that experience has shaped in any way how you look at your life, your purpose, and finding joy. I know that in certain cultures, being an executive woman, having the role of the top CEO position in a company comes with immense challenges. Can you share a little bit more about that journey for you?
Yeah, it is funny because when I was the general manager in Hungary, I was young. I was a woman, a Latin woman in a German company in an European country. And I think that what helped me a lot, Andrea, is that when my mother was raising us, I never saw a difference between being a woman or a man. I never saw differences or difficulties because I was the oldest daughter. And it was like what you set to do, you have just to do. And my father was always telling you have to be the best, whatever you are. And my mother was telling you have to be happy in whatever you do. And she kept telling that you should not look for your passion. You should love everything you do. So with all this mix, when I was getting to a position, to a certain place, because I changed the way that I was seeing the thing, because I had to love it. I have to find what to love in it. And I have to bring value to it. So when in many, many moments that I now talking a lot about it right now, when I saw moments that I was the only women in a room. Instead of feeling intimidated, I saw that I had to make everybody at easy to have a strange in the room. And for them to be okay there with somebody that were not like them. And somehow, instead of trying to be like them, I tried to be very female. And I remember that once I think it was the Belgian GM at that time. He was a kind of mentor for me. He was amazing. I think it was Werner. He was telling, Lara, what I like a lot in you is that you are wearing dresses. You are very female. You don't try to be like a man. And this makes so different the way that you are among us. And that comment in this, it was one lunch that we were having outside, he just commented that it was so nice for me to keep my female characteristics. And I think that with this, I was not trying to adapt. I was okay with what I was, and I didn't see challenges because I was a woman. I thought that I have just to be a little better, or I have to be this, I have to communicate better for people to understand me, because they are not used to the way that I talk. I talk about love, liking, taking care of people. So I just wanted them to understand it. If I look back, there were lots of moments that, it was a challenge because I was a woman. But because I didn't see it, I think that I opened doors for other women because I make it comfortable for men to be around me and to be around women and to want to be around women, to see how much valuable it is to have a woman there. And maybe because of the way that I was raised, I was never raised like, oh, you have to fight like a woman and men don't allow us there. We have to find your place. Although this is good also, my mother taught me not to fight against what I don't want, but to live what I believe in. So I was always a little softer, let's put it this way. Many people will tell that I was not, because sometimes I had to be very strong to be heard. But somehow it was like, I never want to fight against something. And I believe that this way made it much easier for me and for me to live my purpose, because I had my voice. I could tell that I had a purpose. I could tell that I wanted to make my people happy. I could tell that I want my people to wake up in the morning and be happy going to the work. So this made this kind of, it might be this female characteristic of mine to be easily accepted, because this is how Lara is. This is how Lara will talk. And I think that this made much easier. When you find yourself, your authenticity, it doesn't matter whatever you are, man, woman, you are different. And if you find your voice, I think that is much easier for you to be who you are and to be accepted and live your purpose. So I don't know if I answer your question, but it's like, I think that is a whole story about my background and courage from not knowing that there is something that you should be afraid of.
So well said, Lara. I love it. So you were a ray of light in the male-dominated environments, which is absolutely beautiful. And shining your light, I think, is absolutely beautiful. To bring more light into organizations and to bring more purpose and joy, what are some of the insights or wisdoms that you can share with our audience that maybe certain leaders listening to this podcast could implement to bring that abundance of joy within their organizations?
I think probably there are two things that would help: humility and vulnerability. I think if leaders think that they have all of the answers and they are superheroes and they have to put a mask that everything is okay, you are setting the whole company to failure, because then everybody will have to do, because they will follow. It's like raising children. You can tell and do whatever, they will do what you do, because it's how you live. So I think that the very important thing is first for the leaders to be who they are and be able to speak their truth. So this is who I am. This is what I like. This is my purpose. If they know how to tell their story in a way that people understand them, understand their vulnerability, and they are humble enough to tell the things that they are not good at or that they are afraid, they are scared, you are setting an environment and a culture where people can talk to each other. They can communicate in a level that brings a deeper connection and almost a complicity. And when you have this, it's completely different because people are backing each other up. And then I think that the other element that would be very important is to create a vision together of everybody from the purpose of the organization. Because if there is something that will unite people, is a very clear purpose of the company, but a vision how to deliver this purpose. Because then whatever people are in conflict, you just go back and tell what is our common united purpose and vision, why we are here, and how is the visualization of the outcome that we would like to have from this. If you have a culture that is like this, where people are vulnerable, humble, and they can have each other's back, and they have a right direction set not on numbers, but on the value that you want to add to society through your products or service. I think that this is the best way for you to make people come to the work and enjoy each other. And the most important thing, are your people arriving home and telling their families and their friends about how proud they are of the work that they are doing. So I think that when people want to come to work every day and they are happy to wake up in the morning and come to work, and they are happy to go back home and tell what they are doing, and they know how to tell what they are doing to society through their jobs, then you have the right combination, the perfect combination for you to lead well and for people to live purpose through their works and be happy.
I fully agree with everything you've shared. The humility and vulnerability are so important within organizations, and they're the foundations to psychological safety as well, where everyone really feels safe to show up in all shapes and forms and bring forward their ideas and feel included and respected. And it's something that is very, very powerful. As we talk more now about the world and how we could potentially bring greater joy to the world, what do you think we should do collectively outside of organizations, especially if we're talking about creating even a better future for our own children?
So with my children, since they were like younger, I made them do a reflection about what kind of person am I. So I asked each one to make a reflection and what is the person that I want to be and how I should act to be like this. And for example, Marco told, I want to be a person who motivates others. Sarah told, I want to be a person who people can count on. And Lily told, I always want to give a positive impact on people. So in early age, it's very difficult how it's your purpose. But the person who you want to be is clear for them. And when they do this, okay, how can you do this? Each time that I am coming back, as I told about the purpose in the company and vision, that you can come back to this when you are talking to your people. My children also, when they are doing something, I said, okay, if you want to be a person who motivates people, so what you are doing now, does it help or not? And what I am doing with them, I am trying to make them be coherent and to be intentional. So for me, in my book, I have 4 pillars that I tell to live a coherent life, is to be integral, to understand the influence of all parts of your life and your impact in all parts of your life. And the second is to be intentional, to understand that everything that you do has a positive or negative impact, never neutral. So what kind of impact? So this is intentionality. And coherence is within the intentionality to find a purpose and live it in all areas of your life. And the fourth is the lifelong learning, that is to understand that when you find the coherence and you find this harmony, might be that your life will change, something will happen, and how you learn through it so you keep this integrality, the intentionality. So if I give a short answer, I think if people are conscious, that's why my purpose is to elevate consciousness of humanity. When people are conscious and understand that everybody will have an impact in everything in your life, and you decide to be intentional and leave a positive impact, people will be much more conscious of the impact they have. They will use much more discernment. And I think world will be much better, because if somebody has a bad intention, they will feel it, and nobody wants to harm anybody from the soul. I believe that people are good intrinsically, but because they are good intrinsically and they want love and they want something more, they make mistakes because they think that this decision will help them to be fulfilled. And if they understand not that this is not the way, they will change. So intentionality, I think that is something that will really change a lot our future, consciousness and intentionality.
So it comes down also to having like self-awareness, often self-awareness about our inner emotions and self-awareness about how our words, our actions, or our silence has an impact on others. I absolutely love what you've just shared about the 4 pillars in your book. When are you planning to release your book?
So probably it will be spring, summer next year. So we are doing the revision right now, and then we have to find publishing, and then probably mid of next year.
So excited to read your book, Lara.
The same here for your books.
So you mentioned earlier that you believe that your purpose will continue to evolve with time. And given your work today, whether it's with your children or with leaders and organizations, you are shifting and evolving everyone's consciousness to a higher level. If you were to project yourself in maybe 10 years from now, how do you believe your purpose will evolve? Because already your purpose is phenomenal and monumental as well. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on how do we move from here and where do you think you would be in terms of your purpose in about 10 years from now?
Andrea, this is, I never thought about it, to be very honest, and nobody asked me this before. So I don't know. Probably I will be seeing stages of the elevation of consciousness, and maybe it will be to share with people how we are elevating, because I think that we will never elevate consciousness of humanity if we are not transparent and we start to find a kind of work together, everybody, that we communicate and we are transparent by how we are elevating consciousness. How is this impacting the world positively? So I do not have a straight answer on what I see it evolving, but I think that as much as we can share what is the impact of this elevation of consciousness, and we can have more people, and I in my book I call the flow of coherence, that many people with different purposes start to find each other and start to talk openly about it and inspire other people to do the same, and then to make kind of network of purposes. So we have a common vision that is to improve humanity. And then when we start to talk a lot about it, then it's like a puzzle that is coming together and a much better outcome is coming. So most probably my next steps is to see this outcome coming and talking about it probably. And I hope that in less than 10 years we can be doing this, because there are so many people talking about an intentional way of living and living joyfully, that we can talk to each other and share with each other our formulas so everybody can get the best use out of it, right?
Lara, do you believe that by elevating consciousness and helping more people find their purpose and living with greater intentionality and joy, that we'll be able to one day eradicate the mental health epidemic that we have in our world?
I have no doubt about it, Andrea, and mainly in the corporate set, that is the burnouts and everything. I truly believe that when you are doing something just for obligation, and when you are doing something just for the sake of the material outcome or the moment, you don't understand the magic of living. And I always tell my people, just to give you an example, so when I started in India, and after it was like, I don't know, it was 20 years of expat life and many different cultures. And I understood that any place where people are living their lives in a much more joyful way, like with a purpose, it changes everything. So in my introduction speech, in my presentation in the town hall, I told them that in 4 years that I plan to be here, when I end my 4th year, for me to feel that I am successful, I have to understand that many of you wake up in the morning and want to come to work because it's not an obligation. It's a kind of responsibility, because you love coming to work, because you're fulfilling your purpose through the company, through your work. Because in an adulthood, we are like 8 hours in the work, and then we go to our families or to our friends, but our work is the majority of our life. If we are going to the work and we do not have something more that we are taking out of it, that we are bringing value, you have to do volunteering, philanthropy, and many things that are out of the work. And I believe that when people, Andrea, are truly understanding that there is something more in life and they are doing things for a meaning, there is a meaning in life for a purpose, the way that the neuronal connections are being built are completely different. So you are using neuroplasticity to go into the direction of feeling joyful, having a purpose. And this, of course, with time, if you think that you are having this kind of thoughts, this kind of living, automatically from the hypothalamus, that is where your emotions are created, let's say, and then the proteins that go to your body, by the time epigenetics will work there. People are healthier, not only mentally, but physically. And this is such a big belief that I have. And that's why I always thought, as a leader, my biggest concern is that I am responsible for how people, after 2 years that they are with me, they will change the way that they are thinking, and they will change their families, their communities, because of the way that they come back home, because of the way that is the culture and the environment that I created in my company. So I have the responsibility and I have the power to make an environment that is so nice in my work that people can be better human beings and go out and spread it. So yes, I do believe that if we live with purpose, and we as mainly leaders, we are able to bring a completely different environment to work and truthfully just make an environment where people feel well, the burnout and many diseases will go out, and then the productivity will increase, more value, less ethical problems. So there are so many good things as a result of it. So why anybody would like to be a leader that is not careful, kind, and loving? No?
So I was reading this book that was mentioning that in some organizations, purpose has become a religion, whereby individuals come to work to find their purpose. And the dimensions of their lives outside of work are actually taking less and less importance. So they're spending more hours at work, and sometimes the environment where you have the meals available at work, you have events that are being organized and so on. It's almost as if the work is becoming the community and their life. And now that we're seeing so many people being laid off, I was curious to get your views. How does an individual ensure that as they are living a purposeful existence at work, that they reflect on their life purpose that is really encompassing all the dimensions of their lives rather than simply purpose at work?
I love your question, because my first pillar of my book, and it's this, is like integrality. If you focus everything in a relationship, in family or friends, you are not being integral. And if you make your company or your work as the purpose of your life, this is not a purpose. This is an objective, and this is a kind of slavery, and a mental slavery. No company should want their people to find their purpose within the company work. They should live their purpose through the company. But how? Understanding that the work that they are doing is making an impact in society. And the people should understand how society is being benefited, how their purpose is lived through the work that the company is doing. At the same time, if this person is evolving their purpose, they should know, and they should get to another job or to another place that they will fulfill their jobs, because in the majority of the corporation, there is one age that we are going to retire, and you want your people to retire having acquired an expertise during their work in the company that they can do something forever, like the ikigai in Japan. Because in Japan, you have a corporate life or whatever work you have, but you are always thinking what I want to do for the rest of my life. Do I want to plant and then to sell in the little market here? Do I want to give some classes of something that I got very much expert on it? A CEO of Bayer, when he was retired, Mr. Kostelin, I remember that I had a meeting with him right before he left. He was the CEO of Schering and then he was the board of Bayer. And I remember that in my talk to him, I said, what is the advice that you give to me if I'm going to retire? What is the advice that you give? He told, Lara, since I knew that one day I would retire, so I dedicated a lot my life in art galleries. And now that I am retiring, I will dedicate to art galleries and I will dedicate to my gallery and doing work to art, to culture. And everybody should have something that you want to do for the rest of your life. And companies that are using this, they are misleading people. And this is not healthy. And these people that are in a company that their purpose is the company, they will not be healthy. So it should be an alert that I love my job to come here, but I have a whole life outside. It might be that some period, 90% of your life is your work. But when you have a partner, you have a family, you have to have this outside. You have to understand that you are in a planet, in a universe that is completely different. You told something that is beautiful, Andrea. Purpose is your existential purpose. There is an existence. There is something much, much larger than the work, the job. So how you would do this? So that's why I think that it's very, very well pointed. And your work should not be your purpose. No, sorry, your job should not be your purpose, but your work should be your purpose, that you're working the rest of your life, but not necessarily that job.
Any final tips on delineating the specifics of purpose and joy and finding meaning, greater meaning in what we do every single day through all the dimensions of our lives?
I really think that when we know what kind of person we want to be, what kind of human being we want to be, and after each interaction that you have, if you have the feeling that you left the feeling in the person, that is a good feeling and is related to what you want to be as a person, I think that this is great because it's a little thing each time, but after years, you are leaving a feeling, a legacy that will build yourself. I think that the Maya Angelou saying is the one that I love. People will forget what you said or what you did, but they will always remember what will make them feel. And you are making people feel things the whole time. So are you sarcastic? So you make them feel strange, not happy, joyful. If you are kind, if you do things with love, even if it is in a serious way, but with kindness, everything will be different. And in this way, if you do not know your purpose, but you have in your mind that you want to be kind and you want to bring comfort to people, at a certain point, you will see what is your strength, what you make people feel. And you understand that this is your strength and this is what is your purpose, and you evolve in this. So being kind in life will bring you to your purpose. And I think that for many people that they don't know their purpose, that come to me, I said, just be kind, just try to be a better human being each day and understand the impact that you have in people. Are you leaving a positive or negative impact? You are constructive or destructive? Are you creating chaos or peace? So if you focus on this and you are intentional, at a certain moment, you will tell, oh, I keep repeating doing it because this is what I do that bring constructive thoughts to people that impact positively. And this will become your purpose. This you understand that is your superpower. So being kind, I think that is something that, wow, it's powerful and it's very easy.
I fully agree. Thank you for those last words of wisdom. Lara, it has been an immense pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much for all the wonderful things that you do in this world. You're a true inspiration, and I'm very grateful that you have taken the time to share your life and your wisdom with us.
Thank you, Andrea.